Hello everyone, welcome to Economics Fundamentals. Today we are going to discuss about the introduction to macroeconomics. So first we will try to know that what is macroeconomics and where it is come from. So first we will try to know the meaning or origin of macroeconomics. So as you are looking over here, macro is a word which is derived from the word macros. It is a word from Greek language, so it's a Greek word, and which means large. In previous class, when you were the student of class 11th, you have studied the microeconomics. Micro is the word which is derived from the micros from the Greek language as well. So macro is also derived from Greek language and its meaning is large, while the meaning of micro was small. So in macroeconomics, we will study economy as a whole. So here we will talk about the economy as a whole, not the individual. While in microeconomics, we were talking about the individual unit. Say for example, a firm, a single user, single buyer, single producers, a single product. But now we will talk about the whole economy where all goods and services will take place. So, branch of economics which studies economic issues as and problems at the level of economy as a whole is known as macroeconomics. What does it study? It studies economic questions like employment for residents, problems of price rise which is also known as inflation, growth of output in economy, etc. So this is about the origin and the definition of macroeconomics. As I have made clear in earlier discussion that macroeconomics means that this is the term is derived from the Greek word macros, which means large. Large means the economy as a whole. Macro studies economic issues or economic problems at the level of an economy as a whole. Economic issues such as income and output level, employment level, general price in the whole economy as a whole. Problems such as full employment of resources and aggregate of economic system. It studies from general to particular. Example, problem of money and prices, employment and growth as a whole in the economy. So this thing you must be clear in your mind that while we deal with the macroeconomics, it means we deal with the aggregates, aggregate demand, aggregate supply, determination of income and output in the national economy, balance of payments, like that. According to K.E. Boulding, macroeconomics deals not with individual quantities, but with aggregate of these quantities, not with individual income, but with national income, not with individual prices, but with general price levels, and so on. Now we will talk about its evolution, how it came into existence. Earlier, as you are aware, that there was only one economic system, that is economics as a subject matter, the microeconomics was prevailing over there. Adam Smith, who wrote the book The Wealth of the Nation in short form, or an inquiry into the nature and cause of the wealth of nation in its elaborated form. This was the first prescribed book of modern economics. That is why Adam Smith is known as the father of economics. So the classical economist, classical means the old economist, like Ricardo, Adam Smith, etc. They had the view that economy always operates at the level of full employment, and it was based on the Say's market law, which was the supply creates its own demand. So in old days, the subject matter of economics was divided into three basic activities. production, consumption, and investment. It means whatever is being produced, that is only for the purpose of either consumption or investment. There was no scope for saving at all in classical perspective. In this respect, classical economists like Adam Smith, Malthus, Ricardo, etc., studied economic parameters from the viewpoint of the economy as a whole. However, new classical means soon after the classical era. New classical economists like Marshall, Pigou, etc., attach greater significance to the study of microparameters, and the trend continues till the world's Great Depression of 1930. This Great Depression makes the huge difference in the subject matter of economics. It was the divide who made clear that the theory of or principles of macroeconomics are different from micro. This we will discuss. Therefore, in order to eliminate this problem of depression, Professor Ragnar Frisch of Oslo's University in Norway. So, do remember that it was Professor Ragnar Frisch who was from Oslo University, Norway, who divided the study of economics into two branches. In 1933, these were microeconomics and macroeconomics. But after that, in 1936, with the publication of John Maynard Keynes' celebrated book, The General Theory of Employment, Interest and Money, study of two different branches once again assumed greater significance. Now, it was a time when macroeconomics came into existence as a separate branch. So the credit goes to John Maynard Keynes, and that is why Keynes is also known as the father of macroeconomics. Now we will talk about the Great Depression. Great Depression, the principal cause of making macroeconomics a separate branch from economic theory. So Great Depression, which began in 1929 and its major consequences last till 1934. So here we see the two diagram. The first one is showing the economic slumps that began in 1929 led to a drastic rise in unemployment rate. It is estimated that the unemployment rate was risen from 3 to 25 during this economic recession period in United States only, and the fall in real GDP between 29 to 33 was 27%. These two diagrams are related with United States, and now we will move towards the scope of macroeconomics. Macroeconomics largely deals with the following areas of study. First, scope means what else we study in macroeconomics. First, concept and measurement of national income. Related with national income, we have discussed so many basic concepts in our previous classes and previous lectures. Please go through them. So, measurement of national income. National income is the major component of macroeconomics. Then, the determination of income and employment. Determination of income and employment in two-sector economic model. As far as the plus two curriculum is concerned, we will discuss the Keynesian model, because the Keynes has abandoned the classical perspective that supply creates its own demand. He has given his own theory where he states that it is demand which creates the supply, not the supply. Because what happened in 29 Great Depression, there was a huge supply of products, but there were no buyers. So the principle which was given by JB says, the JB says market law, what was it? The supply creates its own demand. It was failed. It was failed. And another principal assumption was there that economy operates at the level of full employment. No, Keynes said that there can be the full employment as well as underemployment equilibrium. And the classical economist had the view that there will be full employment in long run. And John Maynard Keynes said that in long run we all will die. So he had given the concept of short run equilibrium, and he depicted his equilibrium at the level of full employment, at the level of underemployment as well, where the factors of production are not fully utilized. So determination of income and employment, then money and banking, the evolution of money, functions of money, and the banking system, the most importantly, the credit creation function of commercial bank, how the commercial banks creates their credit. So basically it is the subject matter. It is the contents which are involved in your macroeconomics book. This is what you have to study throughout the year. So that is the scope of macroeconomics. Then government budget and the economy, aggregate saving and investment. So budgetary policy, what is the government budget? The annual financial statement which shows the receipts and expenditure of the government. So government budget, how government controls the economy and regulates the money supply. So here we will discuss the monetary policy of RBI and fiscal policy of the government with the help of taxation and government expenditure and all. So this we will discuss in detail in our fourth unit, that is government expenditure, government budget and the economy. Now, theory of general price level. So determination of price, the general price, that is the excess demand and the deficient demand. So these concepts will be clear. Excess demand, when aggregate demand becomes the greater than the aggregate supply, then the situation is known the excess demand, which will lead to the inflationary pressures over the economy. And the when aggregate demand becomes less than the aggregate supply, then this situation will lead to the deflationary pressures over the economy. Then theory of economic growth, growth and development, theory of international trade meant export and imports, which we'll discuss with the balance of payments problem, determination of exchange rate as well. So these are the scope of macroeconomics or subject area of macroeconomics. Now the importance or uses of macroeconomics. What are its uses? What is the importance of macroeconomics? Why we are studying it? So as we know that it is helpful in formulation of economic policy. Means what kind of economic policies the government is going to build, the government is going to frame. This will be helpful from the course area of or subject area of macroeconomics. Another thing is it is study of fluctuations in the economy. Fluctuations means changes. That is income and output, expenditure, saving and investment, etc. So, what kind of fluctuations are there? Suppose we are facing the BOP crisis. What is the meaning of BOP crisis? Our imports, in general terms, our imports are larger than the exports. So, when we are facing the BOP deficit, we are making the deficit financing or deficit budgeting, where our expenditure are more than the receipts. So it tells us about these kind of fluctuations, changes. Helpful in comparisons. Comparisons means we can compare our growth from the previous data. We can compare our numerical figures from the previous years, from the last so many years, from the base price to the current price, then real GDP, nominal GDP, and all. These we will discuss later on when these units will come into the phase. Then measurement of economic development. what kind of development is prevailing in our economy. It will be helpful by knowing the macroeconomic parameters and aggregates. Estimation of welfare means simply increasing the level of GDP doesn't mean that welfare is also increases, because there are so many non-monetary transactions, externalities is there. Then study of inflation and deflation, which we will explain later on. Inflation means price rise and deflation means fall in the price. Now, inflation deflation, as I told you, a rising aggregate price level is inflation, a falling aggregate price level is deflation. The inflation rate is the annual percentage in the aggregate price level. The economy has price stability when the aggregate price level is changing only slowly. Because inflation and deflation can cause problems, price stability is generally desirable. In reality, the inflation rate has mainly been positive for decades, though we are not too far from price stability today. So we are doing at our level best. Now, one more question which is very important as far as examination point of view is concerned. Distinguish between microeconomics and macroeconomics. So, micro, as we have discussed so far, it is the study of individual economic units of an economy. Say, for example, a consumer, a producer, a single firm, a single good market. And macroeconomics means it is a study of economy as a whole and its aggregates. Second point, it deals with individual income, individual prices, individual output, etc. And macroeconomics deals with aggregate like national income, general price level, and national output, etc. Point number three, its central problem is price determination and allocation of resources. And in macroeconomics, the central problem is determination of level of income and output. Means the central problem of microeconomics is price determination and allocation of resources, whereas the central problem in macroeconomics is determination of level of income and employment. Then its main tools are demand and supply of particular commodity. Remember that we are talking about the single commodity only. And its main tools are aggregate demand and aggregate supply, where we are using the summation of all the demands of all the products within the economy. Next, it explains how resources are allocated to different lines of production and how national income is distributed. Where in macroeconomics it explains how productive capacity and national income grow over time. Next, it discusses how equilibrium of a consumer, a producer, or an industry is attained, where it is concerned with the determination of equilibrium level of income and employment. Next, price is the main determinant of microeconomics problem, where income is the major determinant of macroeconomic problem. So in microeconomics, price is the main determinant, where in macroeconomics, income is the main determinant. Next, examples are individual income, saving, individual firm, etc. Where in macroeconomics, examples are national income, national saving, general price level, etc. For better understanding, we can also have some more examples like this. We can put in microeconomics question like go to business school or take a job. Whereas in macroeconomics, we can put how many people are employed in the economy as a whole. In microeconomics, we can put what determines the salary offered by Citibank to Sherry Camacho, a new Columbia MBA. While in macroeconomics, what determines the overall salary level paid to the workers in a given year. Next, what determines the cost of a university or college offering a new course? It is the parameter related to microeconomic theory. And what determines the overall level of prices in the economy as a whole is the aggregate related to macroeconomics. What government policy should be adopted to make it easier for low income students to attend colleges? It is the parameter related to microeconomic question. And macroeconomics, what government policies should be adopted to promote full employment and growth in the economy as a whole. In microeconomics, what determines whether Citibank opens a new office in Shanghai, and in macroeconomics, we put what determines the overall trade in goods, services, and financial assets between the US and the rest of the world. In this table, we have tried to explain the core area of microeconomics and macroeconomics in comparison. So, overall, we can say that while we deal with the microeconomics, as micro means small, so we will deal only with the individual, whether it should be a consumer, a producer, a firm, an industry, etc. And while we deal with the macroeconomics variable, then we deal with the aggregation. Aggregation means the employment level of whole economy. If we talk about the individual salary of a particular employee in a particular firm, then it is the subject area of microeconomics. But if we talk about the total salary structure of an economy, then it will be the subject area of macroeconomics. So that's all from today's introduction to macroeconomics and comparison, its evaluation, origin, and comparison of macroeconomics from the microeconomics. That's all for today's. Thank you. Thank you for watching.